Thank you. Good morning. My name's Anthony Tsang. I'm in Ward 4. I actually did a PowerPoint for the presentation, but knowing the technology limitations, I'll just wing it, right? My subject is volunteerism, and the question was encourage critical community connections, a sense of unity and belonging that are critical to our shared safety. So I'm going to explain my proposal, and hopefully you'll like it. So how do volunteers address community safety? Well, there's the obvious one, first responders. Many of us are volunteers. There's also food security. We do have a food kitchen. We also have food delivery systems. Some of them use volunteers. Social support is another area that addresses community safety. Citizen preparedness, crisis prevention, even the epidemic solutions. We have volunteers that are giving COVID vaccinations. We have volunteers who are teaching community members to give Narcan for the opioid addiction problem. So just a little history lesson. I think we've looked at this before. Beacon of Hope was a collaboration of nonprofits between around 2009, 2011. I may get my years wrong. People of Beacon had the Citizen Soapbox around 2017. The Beacon Community Alliance Club did a community needs survey back in 2018, and the Holland Public Library actually did a series of community conversations in 2019. And just to give you a little breadth of the expertise of the volunteers that are in our community, we have expertise in health, education, social welfare, community building, recreation, finance, fundraising, volunteer coordination, life cycle celebrations, information management, bilingual language, environment, animal welfare, mental health, entertainment industry, teaching artists, government, etc. So what hurts volunteerism? Well, before I answer that question, I will say that I moved up here in '99. I know for the old Beacon, I'm still not considered old Beacon, but for the new Beacon, I'm not new Beacon either, so I'm like middle-aged Beacon, I guess. The success of Beacon has been through volunteerism, and I don't think anybody in this room will debates that. But volunteerism has been hurt in the past, and I'm just going to list a couple of observations that I've noticed. Lack of support. Sometimes all we get are certificates of appreciation. Those certificates of appreciation, while they're nice, they don't make our jobs easier. Cast typing. Sometimes we're good at something, and that doesn't mean that that's our desired long-term task that we want to undertake. Morale. I get a lot, people telling me what not to do. Let's have a conversation on what we can do. Education. You don't know what you don't know, so how would you know what some options and ideas may be? Leadership, you can go, if you want to go fast, you go alone. You want to go far, you go together. Culture, the approach of that's the way we've always done it doesn't mean that you've always done it right. And it's more of an indicator of basically of a personal bias and luck. So, what am I proposing? Well, we should let the residents know the programs that are available through all the nonprofits, as well as the support that they need. There is no specific centralized bulletin board, with the exception of perhaps the one in the park, a memorial, and that gets flooded pretty fast, right? But there's no digital bulletin board. Every organization has their own problems navigating through social media, and a lot of times we're competing against ourselves. A lot of times we don't even know what Twitter is, right? So that happens. There's no community catalog of services, youth versus adults. Yes, 1 minute. Okay, sorry. A lot of new residents will say, well, what are programs available for the youth, right? A calendar of events, recognizing that nonprofits are local businesses too, and recognizing that we also provide in-kind support. What else can the city do? Well, in support of nonprofits, an educational series on recruitment, retention, administrative duties, legal issues, technology grants. Also, space. Space is at a premium in Beacon, and we need space to work. And also cross interactions between organizations and groups. And for the volunteers themselves, treat them as professionals, increase Beacon's administrative bandwidth so they can interact more with professionals, inspire social responsibility, and create a sweat equity bank. Thank you very much.
4 minutes and 55 seconds. Well done. Jimmy Williams is next, and Jamie Lovato is on deck.
Hi. I get super nervous speaking in public, so I just have to take a deep breath first. All right, so thanks for the forum. This is great. We should do lots of these. I am speaking to advocate for the idea of a full-time community organizer. I believe this one solution addresses 3 separate but overlapping issues. First and foremost, community safety is community. You cannot have community safety without community. Knowing your neighbors, interacting with your neighbors is fundamental to being and feeling safe in your community. Second, there exists in Beacon some tension between the old and the new Beacon and the middle-aged Beacon, and so that can lead to some feelings of discomfort and being unsafe. And then third, we suffer from chronically low engagement in our city government. And the COVID-19 pandemic has exacerbated all of those issues. So we are out of practice at interacting with each other, and we need someone to help with that. A full-time community organizer would bring people together in lots of different ways to interact, engage, and inspire one another. The work of the community organizer would include organizing block parties, managing and improving the existing festivals, ensuring more events happen in more locations in Beacon, identifying and coordinating with local stakeholders who have the power to bring people out of their houses and into conversation. Influencers, to borrow a terrible term from social media. The work would also include forums like these, debates, participatory budgeting activities, city hall open houses, any number of other government activities that gets people into direct interaction and conversation with city leadership. The person would also ensure that all events are widely publicized and accessible to everyone. And they would also ensure that city services like police, fire, ambulance, etc. are present in those events and are, saying a few words from the dais, right? Everybody should hear from their local police officers and firefighters and city services and get to know them and get to know their issues and work together as a community to solve some of them. And they would also act as the welcome wagon. When I was little, my mom and a few of the other moms in the neighborhood would always show up at the new family's door, usually with a casserole in hand. And that is how you made sure that there were connections. And we've lost that practice, and we need it. We need somebody to make sure that the new people who move here don't end up just ending up in their solo camp where they don't get to know anyone. And also, they could help organize volunteers. That's another thing they could do.
Yes.
So they would, act as liaison between city programs that need volunteers and the volunteers who want to do them, and then put those together. That's it.
Jamie Lovato is up representing Fairground. Carrie Dean is sales is after Jamie.
Hi everyone, I'm Jamie Lovato, and I started working at Fairground in December, and I'm really glad to be here with all of you and excited for the opportunity for folks in Beacon to come out and make suggestions about how things can improve and how the city can support things. So I am here to talk about access to healthy food. Now, since I started working in Beacon on this, I have realized that although there are a variety of services, there is an increased need for healthy food, and in terms of the specific work that we have been doing, we're getting more and more people coming out to get food. So just for an example, each week we're seeing 15 to 30 new households that we had not seen since, say, January 1st. So that's just to give an example of the fact that the need is increasing. There are a variety of services, so I'm not really specifically talking about Fairground, but food access in Beacons generally. One of the main limiting factors in getting enough food out to people who need it is actually obtaining the food from the food bank. And one specific piece of the suggestion that I'm making is for a city truck and driver to be assigned to that task of picking up the food and bringing it into Beacon. The other primary limiting factor is cold storage, because most people who are coming out have specific goals of eating healthy food, and their primary desires, and I think all of our desires for everybody, is to have that highly nourishing food, which is primarily perishable items, right? So we're talking about meats, dairy, and produce. And those things need to be stored in cold storage, otherwise they're going to go bad. So the other part of my proposal is to have the City of Beacon invest in the infrastructure to support that cold storage, so that way food access organizations in Beacon can actually get and store that food and be able to give it out on a regular basis, so that way everybody has that access. And I think, it's pretty straightforward. People need food, and we need to be able to bring it here and to be able to make sure it is stored safely, so that way people can eat it. Thank you all.
Yvonne,
We'll take it. Yeah.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
I'm Carla Sale. A little short for this thing. And I'm a social worker here in Beacon. Not here in Beacon, I live here in Beacon. I've been a social worker for over 22 years. And something I'm very passionate about is mental health. I'm also a part of Fairground. And so in my work in the community, I've had many different experiences where people aren't doing well for a variety of reasons, right? Who is really doing well right now, I guess is really the question. But and there have been so many instances where I think, gosh, why can we not help this person, take them somewhere, help them get food, get comfort, get connection, and have them feel like they're a part of the community? Because I think isolation is really killing us, and I see it all the time. I'm gonna get emotional, sorry. Anyway, my proposal is about, it's called Beyond Stigma, because I think stigma gets in the way, and it's something I'm very passionate about regarding not only food access, but mental health. So I did give you some statistics that depression, for example, major depressive disorder, which I hate that word, but episodes and depression have increased greatly over the past few years. Often people are going to the emergency room for mental health issues, and there's a lot of statistics that says that they're waiting longer in the emergency room, and they're taking up the time of doctors and nurses, as well as police response, right? And so a lot of the events that police are responding to are really around mental health. So my proposal is, can we please have an urgent care for mental health? We have an urgent care if you're not feeling well, right? You can go to Fishkill Urgent Care, wherever you may go. But we don't have that place for mental health. And so my proposal is that we could be an amazing pilot program here in Beacon, where we hire a variety of social workers, family peer advocates, youth peer advocates, which are amazing resources in our community, also throughout the state. We can have homeopaths, psychiatrists, we can have volunteers, we can have really people coming together to support people when they're not feeling well emotionally. And so that's my proposal. Thank you.
Yvonne is up and KK is on deck.
Hello, my name's Yvonne Carruthers, and my proposal is Open Main Street. And I'm happy to do it this week, to talk about it this week, because you've already been putting it into practice the last few days with the paving, and next week with the paving, so everybody's already like, oh yeah, I know how to do this. And a bunch of my neighbors have said, wouldn't it be awesome if we could do that all the time? Like, you just walk down the street and you don't have to be worried about getting hit by an SUV. I've been shocked since I moved to Beacon to discover that there have been a number of incidents of people being hit by cars, either on their bikes or even on the sidewalk. That kind of blew me away. So in terms of safety, I want to get cars, people, and bikes separate from each other. And on the other hand, also addressing climate change, because we need to reduce auto emissions. There's a big emphasis in Beacon on Green Beacon, which yay. And like everybody's been talking about, getting to know your neighbors. So if we had open Main Street, that would be a big help. The frequency I'm suggesting is 1 day a month in June, July, and August. And if the weather's great, let's do it in September too. And obviously this is just an outline. It needs to be fleshed out as to what's the best day, hours, all that kind of stuff. Paloma sent me an email and she said, the city attorney said, yeah, but remember you gotta have emergency vehicles. And my response to that is, I bet the city already has a plan about emergency vehicles when the streets are closed, because we have parades, or there used to be parades. And like for the paving, obviously I think the city does have plans for those contingencies, and so obviously this would need to be discussed, how to make that happen. The goal, several goals: promote safe walking, biking, and socializing, reduce auto emissions, get people used to what it feels like to be in a greener Beacon, socialize more post-pandemic, improve the appearance of Main Street. We have a lovely Main Street, but you can hardly see it with all the cars parked and trucks making deliveries and all that kind of stuff. And then I thought, and listening to these various proposals, the community organizer could help pull this together, and the volunteer opportunities could have little booths set up at various points along the open Main Street, and they could be talking about the urgent care mental health clinic, and Fairground could be talking about how to access food. And so I just think it'd be really cool if we had open Main Street. If you've ever been into the city when they have open streets, I think they're usually on Sundays or it's various weekends. They now have 100 streets in New York City. They're doing open streets. But the city of Paris is one of the first that comes to mind. They've done an awful lot of work to pedestrianize the city and get people out. And it really helps with outdoor dining and shopping and all kinds of things. So that's what my proposal is. Thank you.
KK is up and Martin Howard.
I thought I would cry this morning, so it's pretty cool that Carla started.
We can cry together.
Okay, so I'm KK. I use all pronouns. I live in Ward 4. So last year, members of the Beacon community came together to stand in solidarity with their neighbors who for multiple years reported numerous instances of targeted hate speech that were anti-choice, homophobic, and transphobic. Despite reporting it to the police and to city government, the individual responsible, by their own admission, in a letter to the editor to a local paper and in an interview with the Little Beacon blog, never faced any consequences. So last year, over 250 members of our community came together to support their neighbors and had an action on the streets of Beacon. As a member of the broader LGBTQ community and a member of the City of Beacon's Human Rights Commission, I'm here to ask the City of Beacon for a visible and tangible expression of acceptance and affirmation for members of the Beacon community who are also members of the LGBTQ community. And so my ask is support us in planning Beacon Pride celebrations this June, promote the HRC's community pledge, and openly embrace the diversity in our community. And so for this Pride, I'm asking that the City of Beacon flies the Progress Pride flag at City Hall. This is a new Pride flag designed to represent and integrate the historic and modern day struggles of the LGBT movements and racism, to ensure that all members of our community are visible. I ask that the City of Beacon help fly flags during the month of June on Main Street and facilitate the painting of some of the sidewalks on Main Street so that Beacon visibly demonstrates how welcoming we are. And also to help us promote our pledge, which is now a year old, and Kara's gonna read our pledge. We have about 45 seconds for that. Good.
Okay, our community pledge. Well, also KK is our chair. I don't think you mentioned that, of the Human Rights Commission. So we worked on this last year. We believe that communities are made safer for all residents and visitors when every community member, regardless of race, religion, sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, national origin, nationality, preferred language, immigration status, age, disability, education, or socioeconomic status, feels comfortable and safe residing, living, working, and or visiting the City of Beacon. Every community member has the right to live, work, or visit in our community without fear of violence or attack. Every community member should be able to live, work, or visit in conditions of safety, security, and dignity. Every neighborhood and area of the City of Beacon should be a protected space for community members to live, work, and fulfill their potential. As a member of our Beacon community, we uphold the above to be true and pledge to come out as an ally by creating welcoming and affirming spaces for all members of our Beacon community, stand up in response to acts that violate an individual's rights to live, work, or visit in our community without fear of violence or attacks.
So if you haven't signed the pledge, sign it.
Martin Fowler is next, and Maggie Dickinson is on that.
Hi everyone, my name's Martin, for those who don't know me. I'm so into all these proposals, I'm just like, I'm gonna keep mine real short because it feels, it pales in comparison to everything I've heard so far. I'm so just glad to be a part of this community, and I hope we get to do all of those things. But my things, I'll talk about it. I am very interested in the expansion of the Beacon Free Loop. I think it's a great program for connecting the city from top to bottom, but not so much from side to side. And I'd like to see it expanded as well. I'll just read what I wrote to the council so that I can keep this brief. A key aspect of community safety is safe and reliable public transportation throughout the bounds of the city, and thus should include an expanded service of the free shuttle loop beyond its current Main Street-centric loop. Primarily, I would recommend the bus, upon its return segment, make a right turn onto Fishkill Ave off of Main Street, head out to either the loop at the lofts at Beacon or at Industrial Arts, somewhere around the city limit, and then return on Fishkill Ave and make a right back onto Main Street and continue its journey down to the train station. There are long stretches of unreliable sidewalk along 52, including many segments that don't have ramps for people to get up and down. So often we see a lot of people, especially people in wheelchairs, in the road. in a stretch that I don't even like biking in, let alone I can't imagine being in a wheelchair in. And additionally, with the closing of the central laundromat next to Key Food, having the bus run past an additional large-scale laundromat, the one out on 52, would be helpful for a lot of people who are not necessarily able to access transportation reliably otherwise. In addition, I love the closing of Main Street. Buses are just such a great way to reduce carbon emissions, and we should be really embracing this the system we have so that people can use it more regularly, more often. Lastly, I think if it does go out there, I mean, you have industrial arts and district social. If there were expanded hours, especially on Saturday, for that, it would be a safe way to get a lot of people home from that location. So there's a lot of aspects of safety that could be improved with an expansion of the bus loop. Thanks.
Maggie is up, and Representative Dickinson.
Hi everyone. Sorry, I gotta find my notes. I'm Maggie Dickinson. I live in Ward 4. I'm so moved by everyone's suggestions. Genuinely, I'm like, do we have to pick 3? Because there's just been so many good ideas, and it's really lovely to hear how thoughtful everyone is in thinking about safety in the community. So I was thinking a lot, similar to Kara, around the kinds of issues that come up that we just don't have a great way of addressing, right? People in mental health crisis, people who have conflict, who need help resolving those conflicts, substance abuse issues that come up that, are personal safety issues. And so I also want to give some context to this. So in the past 40 years, we've seen a 500% increase in the number of people who are imprisoned in the United States. And we know that this also has deep implications for racial inequality and economic inequality in the US. From 1977 to 2019, local government spending increased from $44 billion, and this is inflation adjusted, so from $44 billion to $123 billion on local policing. That's a 179% increase, right? So we are funding our police at high levels, and we've lost the tools to deal with some of these other issues that are really public safety issues, right? When I think about this, I think like that expression, if all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? And so what my proposal is to create a community safety team in Beacon that would be a group that could respond to 911 calls that just don't require policing, right? So this could be a team of 2 people on 24/7 call, right? Just like the police. One person who's a person who is trained in mental health, de-escalation, those kinds of things. Could be in a community center. I'm just saying, could be housed in a community center, mental health, urgent care downtown. And then another person who's maybe a health person like an EMT, right? So that we would have 2 people on call at all times, independent of the police department, who could respond to, say, noise complaints, where really it's just a conflict. You just need someone who's trained in de-escalation to have that conversation between 2 people who are having a conflict. Or maybe someone's in mental health crisis and they really just need someone to sit with them, be with them, get them whatever they need. Maybe it's connection to, up here, maybe it's food, maybe it's referrals to housing services or whatever those things are. But people who are trained with that expertise, who are on call 24/7, so that those 911 calls got diverted to people who actually have the training and the ability to deal with them, right? So that's my proposal. There's models of this. I do want to say there's a couple models that we could draw on, because I know this is a big one. This is not like, and then we do it tomorrow. But there are models of places who are doing this. The Cahoots program in Eugene is a really, really good model that we could take a look at that operates in this way. The Denver Star model is similar. So it's emergency response that is people who are trained for the kinds of emergencies that we really see every single day. Thank you.
Brett is up, and then we did have a few people who were not able to join us in person, and we're going to have city council members read those proposals.
Hi. Thanks for having me, guys. Brett Miller, Ward 3. So just to recite the community quarterly question, which, by the way, is an innovative program that I think is awesome. What is a key aspect of the community and public safety that is missing or requires improvement that the city should provide? And my submission is titled Partner for the Global Goals. Now, this is a forum where you guys aren't allowed to speak with me, but how about some nods? Do anybody know what the global goals are? Awesome. There's 17 of them.
Yeah,
If you don't, oh, you can?
Yeah, a little bit.
Sweet.
There's not a city council meeting, the same rules.
Awesome. All right. All right. So I propose that the key aspect that the city is missing, and which could vastly improve public safety while strengthening the community, is partnering for a unifying vision. And to partner for the global goals, we take two actions. One is to include partnering information on our city website that identifies or helps us identify business partners that can contribute resources that our city otherwise wouldn't be able to afford. And the second thing is adopt the unifying vision of Beacon becoming the first city in the world to win the UN Global Goals, which I believe we can accomplish. The NYSERDA site is our legal precedent for the sake of this proposal. As they have done on their website, we must add basic partnering information on our city website. We can create a partner page with a little partner menu at the top and include 4 documents within the page: code of conduct for contractors, doing business guide with the city of Beacon, a guide to partnering with the city of Beacon, and a guide to partnering for the global goals, and in addition, a submission form. And as part of this submission, I volunteer to review the inbound submission for the alignment with the city's vision, and respond to the submissions and proactively reach out to organizations and individuals, residents within Beacon, to propose partnerships that can help us accomplish this goal. I want to close out with just a quote from our former Secretary General of the United Nations, Ban Ki-moon. He said, "Our struggle for global sustainability will be won or lost in the cities." And I just want to remind everybody that goal number 17 is partner for the goals. Thank you.
We have 1, 2, 3, 4 ideas from folks who weren't able to be here. We're going to go in order: Dan, Molly, Justice, and then Ren will read these next 4 ideas.
All right. I have no ideas of my own, so I have to crib others. All right, so this is an idea from Stephen pertaining to citywide pedestrian, bicycling, and transit plan. Motor vehicle traffic is a leading cause of injuries and death, particularly for young people. Lack of access to affordable transportation increases household costs and precarity. The bipartisan infrastructure law provides historic levels of transportation funding that could be leveraged to improve and expand public transit options and non-motorized transportation so that they are safer to use and a more appealing choice. While accessing federal funds must be done through the Metropolitan Planning Organization, Dutchess County Transportation Council, Beacon could better navigate that process by developing a publicly available prioritized list of desired transit, walking, and biking improvements, essentially a transportation master plan. And that's all from Stephen.
All right, I'm Molly, again, by the way, Ward 1, and I'm reading something from someone who resides or cares about an intersection in Ward 1 named Alex. The intersection at Main Street and Willow is dangerous for cars and people. The curb cuts have also been created in such a way that they are not usable, since the parking spaces are drawn to block the curb cuts. I have had many challenges pushing a stroller at this intersection before and after it was redesigned. It is possible that the repaving of Main Street will resolve the problem with the curb cut, but it's still challenging to turn from Willow onto Main Street because there is no visibility there. I hope that the city's traffic and safety engineers and experts will consider some of the following proposals for this and other problematic intersections on Main Street. Number 1, inserting mirrors so that drivers turning onto Main Street have more visibility about what is coming. 2, insert flashing lights or stop signs to slow traffic. 3, utilize our artistic community in town to paint intersections where there are challenges. This article outlines, looks like they linked an article outlining the traffic calming benefits of artistic paintings and crosswalks and intersections. Thanks.
Okay, we're good. I'm, again, Justice McCrae, City Council person for Ward 2, and I will be reading an idea from Derek. Implement an online civic engagement platform like Citizen Lab to provide greater government transparency and facilitate active community participation. The main Citizen Lab product is full-featured subscription service that appears to satisfy the City of Beacon use case, but they also offer a free open source minimal version that users can self-host, and there's a link here, which I have evaluated myself in the past. Polis is another interesting civic engagement / public sentiment analysis platform that could be appropriate for engagement in particular projects and issues. And that was all they had.
All right. Hi, y'all. Ren from the City Council, Ward 3. This idea is from Kathleen. The City of Beacon passed a safe storage law several years ago. Given that gunfire has become the #1 killer of children in our country, I would like to see the City of Beacon do more to make parents aware of this law. I would ask that the City of Beacon require any school in the City of Beacon to notify the students about the safe storage law on an annual basis. More can be learned at endfamilyfire.org.
Our city attorney would like me to remind you all that the City Council was reading other people's ideas and is not a reflection of our own official statement on anything. And also with that last idea, the City of Beacon can't require the school district to do anything. We're separate branches of government, but that does not mean that the City of Beacon cannot disseminate this information in other ways, and those sorts of separations are true for any and all of your ideas. While parts of your ideas may be within the scope of the City of Beacon's government, and some may be outside of the scope of the City of Beacon government, while we might have control only over part of it, that doesn't mean that you can't advocate for the other parts of your ideas to be put forward in other forms. Thank you all for coming.